On today's show, A-Rod retires, a boxer says bye-bye government job and gets back in the ring, and I owe the Olympics a big fat apology, plus our special guest and our Beast and Busters of the Week. You're listening to That's What She Said Sports. Well, hello, and welcome to I'm Fighting a Cold with Nicole Monique. Just kidding. You're listening to That's What She Said Sports. And, yes, as you can hear, I'm definitely fighting a cold, so I apologize for that. Just know that I tried my best to fight it, and it wore me down. And there's nothing worse than having a cold in August, and it's like 90 degrees, and you have the chills. So I know this sucks a big one, but if I sound like Wheezy Jefferson, just like I said, again, forgive me. And if you don't know who Wheezy Jefferson is, well then, God bless you. I need to know how old you are because that's just ridiculous. Go ahead and Google her, Wheezy Jefferson. But again, you're listening to That's What She Said Sports on the All In Sports Talk Network, where you get the best sports shows daily. You love sports, so it's time for you to be all in. And remember, folks, we have big things happening this fall too. So get ready for, as we're getting ready for football season, so really excited about that. So there's been a lot of baseball in the news over the past few weeks, and I immediately thought of my boy Ted Hicks to join me to talk all things baseball. And if you don't know Ted, he's a good friend of the show. He's the co-host of the popular podcast, Baseball, Beer, Barbecue. He's also the host of the show Late Night Parents, where they talk about everything sports, politics, you name it. So, folks, let's welcome Ted Hicks to the show. Hey, Ted, how you doing?
Hey, Nicole, how you doing? All of that for me? What a welcome. Thank you.
I know. Well, let me apologize to you. I already apologize to all those listening. I am fighting the worst cold in August.
That's terrible.
Yeah, so I let the audience know if I sound like Wheezy Jefferson. I don't mean to. And then if you didn't know who Wheezy Jefferson is, well then that just makes it even worse. So,
come on, you know who Wheezy is.
I'm just saying. So forgive me if I have to cough or feel like I'm coughing up a lung, but I'm gonna try to hold it together. So anyway, Ted, as always, I'm so excited to have you on. And
same here.
Again,
Thank you.
There's a lot of baseball news going on, so let's just dive right in. You know, we got to talk about A-Rod. End of year, he's basically done. He's retiring. They're giving him some position. I don't know. I think he's going to do everything but like manage to being the lunch lady for the Yankees or something.
Goodness.
But I want to know first from you: were you surprised by this, or was it one of those? It was inevitable.
I think it was inevitable. I see, from being from New York, this isn't new because this kind of happened with the Knicks and Allen Houston. You know, when a team is on the hook, you know, that's why the NFL rocks, because the owners are like, hey, we don't want to go to these fully guaranteed deals. So you got to think about it, and you think back to Allen Houston when he was with the Knicks, and he couldn't play anymore, you know, due to, you know, his injuries, and they're on the hook for a guaranteed deal. What are we going to do? Oh, stick him in the front office. Do this. Make him a prop. Make him player development. Make him, you know, stand out there and take pictures with the, you know, little kids or something like that. They had to get him out of there, but they were, you know, the team with the new ownership, and you know, it's not new, but it's not George Steinbrenner, you know, the senior. They, you know, George M. Steinbrenner would have no problem with cutting a check and getting him on out of here. The Suns, that's a different animal. So is it, you know, is he going to be coaching? No, he's not going to be coaching. He said that. Is he going to be allowed to go to Fox Sports? We don't know. You got to wait to hear from legal. But they cut the check. He's going to be paid through December 31, 2017. So he's covered for. Go ahead.
it sounds like that relationship where if I can't have you, nobody else can.
Right.
I mean, is it almost like that?
I think it's almost like that, and if anyone wants him, then you can peel off a little bit of this $28 million that we owe him throughout next year, throughout the end of next year.
Right.
So it's everything's negotiable, but it's funny. It's funny because this guy has been an albatross. With there's so much skill there, but there's the baggage. So anyway, you look at it, Nicole, it's like, it's A-Rod. Tomorrow is the last game, functioning game that he will be playing with the Yankees. And it's, it's going to be a sight to see.
Well, let me ask you this, because I kind of heard all these different theories around that he could possibly play for another team until the Yankees buy once everything's official. And of course, there's been rumors that maybe he can go to Miami. I mean, do you think he would do that? I mean, the press conference, he was obviously emotional. Anytime you play a sport, I mean, he played for, 22 seasons, 12 with the Yankees. He like Charles Barkley always says, you can't be Father Time. We know he's older. Right. But do you think he would be interested in going to another team if they called him, or is this pretty much this is it?
No, I think, once again, we have to go back to, if you want to, take a bite of that $28 million that's owed, then anything is negotiable. But as for right now, they're saying, hey, he's under contract with us. And, if you're another team, then, hey, you're going to have to take a bite of this if you want a piece of him. And there's not that much left of him. Right.
Well, he is 4 homers short of the 700 mark. Obviously, the 2016 season hasn't been good for him. Why do you think he's stumbling so bad and having such a hard time?
Like you said, Father Time, and or the injuries. Because you got to think about it. It's been a long career as an athlete. After a while, all of this stuff catches up to you. Kobe wasn't Kobe at the very end. I mean, yes, we saw the 60-point game, but leading up to it was something else. And then, you think of the byproduct of the supplements and everything that he's put into his system. I mean, we saw it with Jason Giambi. I hate to throw it out, with Tex, Mark Teixeira, there's talk about that, because you watch how these players break down after they're off of something. Their body has to adjust, they readjust, and they aren't the same.
So let me ask you, what will his legacy be? What will he be remembered for? I mean, obviously we kind of the elephant in the room, so to speak, but truly, what will his legacy be? Because before that, I mean, he was the toast of baseball. I mean, A-Rod at one time was a big deal. Obviously, the PEDs and all that didn't help it, but what do you think his legacy will be?
I think it's going to be a tale of two legacies. One of a very, very, very gifted athlete, before his time, and then the other of the cheat, the liar, the guy who is concerned about signing those max contracts. You got to think about it. Salary alone playing baseball is close to in the $460 to $500 million range. So he's almost a half of a billionaire just on playing out these contracts. So
Ted,
I think it's a tale of two stories.
Because Ted, wasn't he one of the first to get one of those $200 million contracts? I mean, I remember that first contract. Wasn't he one of the first guys to hit that mark? That's right.
He got two of those deals. So you got to think about it. I mean, outside of the money that, remember, he lost $25 million 2 seasons ago from the suspension, but he signed 2 of those deals. And it would have been even more if he, if the second time he wasn't, outed or, he didn't admit to the PEDs and everything else like that, because then all the clauses kick in at 700, 714, 755. Those are the numbers that, would be celebrated, but we'll never see them with him.
So when you go back to saying the tale of two legacies, so you're saying it's the kind of A-Rod, the young guy, the phenom, how he
right.
came out, dazzled basketball, but then later on, A-Rod, the PEDs, the lying, the cheating, kind of, you know, you can kind of break his career up in like two different seasons.
Oh, definitely. It's A-Rod, the greatest, the young talent, and then A-Rod, the person who's under pressure to perform and continue to get those 50-plus seasons, and he had to do it with, you know, supplements that were illegal.
Right. So let me ask you, because Joe Girardi, the manager for the Yankees, he had a press conference recently. They were in Boston. The crowd was chanting, "We want A-Rod." You know, he's got booed, but that whole thing of, you know, they just want to see him. He had said, "Look, I'm not here for a farewell tour when it comes to A-Rod. What do you think that's all about?" Because I thought that was a little much. I'm like, come on, Girardi. I mean, you could tell he's not a fan of the guy, but I thought that was a little much as far as, you know, come on, Joe. It's the guy's ending his career. End of the day, have some compassion. Or is that just Joe being Joe?
No, I think Joe is in a bad situation because he's kind of the one out there with his neck stuck out. You know how it is to be that person, like that line manager. You're stuck out there where the higher-ups are saying, don't do this. But, you know, of course, Joe can't implicate them. And then, you know, they're like, oh, he's going to get the opportunity to play. And then all of a sudden, you know, he switches things up. I think Joe's in a bad spot. And I think ownership has put him in a bad spot.
Will there always be a part where A-Rod is kind of the anti-Derek Jeter? I've always felt like, you know, Derek Jeter is like, you know, the good guy. I mean, you know, it's just so interesting, even though he, you know, had his, you know, they called it dating. For A-Rod, it was womanizing. You know what I mean? It's like I always felt like A-Rod could never get a break. I mean, him and Derek Jeter do the same things. The media, especially, I mean, you know, you're from New York. They soften it for Derek Jeter, but for A-Rod, it's like, oh, he's such a villain, he's such a bad guy. I mean, do you think there will always be kind of this thing with him and Derek Jeter when everybody has all this love for Jeter and then this contempt for A-Rod?
Nicole, you got to remember, Jeter's homegrown. A-Rod was an import.
Well, see, that's what's funny to me, because me and Jeter are both from Michigan, but yet they treat Derek Jeter like he was born and raised in New York. So, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah. He's at the farm and everything. Yeah.
Right,
so the love will never be there.
Okay. All right. Well, how do you feel personally about A-Rod? I mean, you're also homegrown. That's your neck of the woods. How do you feel about A-Rod and him? You know, finally, like, it's done.
I'm so glad it's done. I really am. You know, I've never seen a guy that was more scripted and more reality TV. There is not a bit of anything that is natural with this guy. It's always he's always reading off cue. Even look at last week. He's sitting there reading from his little script, and you're like, come on. At one point, can you come from the heart for once?
No, see, that's what's so interesting. I guess because we're not there from the outside looking in, I've always felt bad for A-Rod. I've always felt like, and don't get me wrong, I'm not excusing, you know, the drugs and the lying, because I didn't excuse it for Lance Armstrong, you know, own up to it. But I've always felt like, man, this guy can't get a break. So it is interesting kind of hear, because I do have friends still in New York who are like, oh, the bum, let him go. Like, I don't want to talk about him anymore. I'm like, okay, all righty, we'll move on. So, all right, well, speaking of moving on, I do want to talk about Prince Fielder. He just recently had an emotional press conference. I mean, it got me, and then he's sitting next to his two boys, and they're crying. I mean, it was very emotional. He's obviously has had his second cervical fusion surgery. He's wearing a bracelet on his neck. The doctors are basically saying, you know, it's a done deal. He feels like it's too soon. He's got cheated, but, you know, you can't play with health. I mean, what do you think about as far as him ending his career? How do you? I mean, at 32, could he have played longer? What's your take on Prince Fielder?
I think I've been a Prince Fielder fan because I was a Cecil Fielder fan. Okay, that's number one. With watching his dad.
His dad, for all those listening.
Right. So, and you got to think about it. Do you go short term? Do you go long term? Do you want to be around with your kids playing ball with them, or are you concerned about fulfilling that contract? His contract, that $214 million contract, 9-year deal, guess what? they owe him an additional $106 million through 2020. What a goodbye present. What a retirement. You want to talk about your retirement package?
Yeah, that just made my neck hurt. You know what? I'd have surgery I'd volunteer to have surgery now for $160 million. Come on now.
Oh my goodness. And he's in Texas, so no state tax. Come on. Come on.
Yeah, come on.
You know, it's a no-brainer.
I'd be like, boy, stop crying. Stop. Just stop crying. So.
You're good.
Right. Again, those guaranteed contracts. Oh God, I love it.
Yes.
But it is, but I do understand. All jokes aside, it's that love of the game, right? He saw where he did want to play for a long time, but it is what it is, and it's definitely one of those injuries you cannot play with.
No.
Like you said, do you want to be able to throw catch with your kids, or do you want to possibly end up, God knows where or how? So
right.
Yeah. Speaking of ending up somewhere, let's talk about my boy Yasiel Puig. He got bumped down to the minor leagues, and this was what cracked me up because I think Puig can have a good time wherever he goes. He got bumped down to the minor leagues. The Dodgers are now disappointed that he's been using his time dancing, drinking, and hanging out with his teammates, and you can see all this on Snapchat.
Yes.
I see it as when you break up with someone and you want them to be miserable, and you see they're not, and you get pissed.
Yes.
And it's like the Dodgers are like, wait a second, you're down in the minors and you're still having a good time? What the hell is going on? What's your take on that, Ted? Is it just Puig being Puig, or is it just the Dodgers need to calm down?
No, I think it's Yasiel Puig being Puig. He's in the minors.
Okay.
He's like, okay, this is what you wanted me to do. I'm going to have the best time with it, and that's that. And like you said, I mean, the Dodgers were looking for trade partners at the deadline. They were looking. They were trying to. They were unable to find a trade partner before the August 1 deadline. So they demoted him.
Ultimately, what was the disconnect? I've heard things as far as, they say he's a natural-born athlete. And I heard things, it was like maybe a language barrier, or that he just wanted to do things his own way, and he didn't want to do the things the way the Dodgers wanted. What do you think was the disconnect of why they just couldn't gel?
I kind of go back to when Don Mattingly was the coach. And I'm going to say, you see someone that has all this talent, but he's constantly underachieving, constantly making bonehead plays, and not really doing what you envision him to do. So you're going to get to a point of, okay, reclamation project, or is it time to get him out of here? And I think they're at that point of, okay, we got to do something. And, if he hangs on through the off season, they're going to sell him for, make him available for next to nothing. I think it's a lose-lose.
Okay, but when you say he's not doing what he's supposed to do, is that just because is it a language thing, or is it just he just doesn't care?
It's pretty hard for me to say. I'm just going to say that there is a disconnect. It could be a language barrier. It could be. I like to lean more towards that versus, I've got a lot of talent and I really don't care, and someone else is going to pick me up, and I'm going to make a mini max deal, which once again, baseball money fully guaranteed. So I'm going to make $100 million somewhere.
What organization could you see wanting Puig?
That's an interesting one. That's an interesting question because who doesn't need someone, an outfielder, a right fielder with a strong arm and with a pretty solid bat? Name your organization. That's going to be out there. I mean, I would love to say, of course, I'm a homer for the Mets. He could, he could wind up with the Mets because guess what? Granderson is 35, and this is his last year of his deal, and but he can wind up anywhere. But like you said, there's going to be that barrier, and you never know. He could wind up in Miami because Mattingly already knows him.
Right. Right. Speaking of baggage, I'm sure you've heard the Atlanta Braves, my hometown team. We've acquired Matt Kemp.
Oh God.
And you know what? And I think I probably would have been more excited about this if it was like the young Matt Kemp. What does he have left in his tank? What does he have left to offer the Braves? I'm just curious from your take.
Matt Kemp, I mean, like you said, we expected a lot out of him when he was in LA.
Right.
But LA always had that problem of having one additional outfielder. And then when he went to San Diego, you were kind of like, of course, underachieving. What does Matt Kemp have? I don't know, but the Braves are about another season to season and a half away from being good again. So, as I mentioned with other players, he could be a reclamation project there where he could, fix a few things. But, he's at that point where you're at 30, 31 and you're no spring chicken. And you've got, a lot of games that, you got more years behind you playing than you have ahead of you. So it's I think Atlanta would be a good place for him because it's low pressure, it's low expectation right now. I think the Braves are going to be good. Going from 2017 going into 2018, they're going to be good again, and they're going to be challenging in that NL East.
Well, did you hear that, Braves fans? Let's look towards the future because that's what we do every season. So let's just continue to look towards the future because that's what we do. Are you watching the Olympics, Ted?
I'm watching a little bit of it. I mean, it's really more family time. I haven't watched any basketball, but I've watched swimming, I've watched gymnastics. Those are the two sports that, with the family, we sat down and we were watching it.
Well, what has been your favorite so far from whatever you've watched?
We're always going to root for Gabby. We're always going to root for Gabby Douglas. Yes, he came up a little short. And, of course, we're going to root for Michael Phelps.
Yeah, definitely.
We're going to root for Phelps. And those were mainly, like I said, for me, basketball is not even a competition, even though they only won by 10 points the other night. But it's kind of like it's a foregone conclusion. So those are really the only two things that I've kind of, stuck my head in there. Like, there's so much more coverage about Zika and then, the actual sports. But the one good thing is it's exciting, it's entertaining, and it's probably going to go down as one of the, better Olympics that we've had with, a lot of
I feel your take on the basketball. I've watched a little of the men here and there. I've tried to watch the women, but it's hard to watch blowouts. I mean, the women have been beating. Actually, the women I'd say are really dominating. I mean, they're a very good team. But when you're beating somebody, when you're beating poor little Senegal by 40 points, come on.
Right.
I mean, after a while, you start looking at another country like, come on, I'll help you. I'll cheer for you a little bit. Come on, give me a little something. So you start feeling bad for Croatia. You're like, oh, come on, Croatia, do your thing. So. But yeah, well, I've turned into a full-on Olympic groupie, so I mean, I can't get enough. Can't get enough of it. So, but when you're watching fencing, you're all in.
Yeah, you're in. You're all in.
Yeah,
I'm all in.
I'm all in. Yeah. Well, Ted, thank you so much for joining me today. I love it when I have you on. And I love how you broke down the whole A-Rod thing, and it's definitely going to be interesting. Do you think he's going to get a lot of standing ovations and a lot of the applause and a lot of love from the media, at least being his last game, or do you think folks are going to be like, okay, see ya?
Nah. I think you hit it dead on. He's going to be loved. I mean, he won't ever be loved like Jeter, but he's going to be loved Friday night. He's going to be, of course, the ESPN is showing it, and then our local stations are showing it, and there's going to be a pregame ceremony, and I'm sure they're going to have a few special guests there. Of course, they drummed up the ticket prices, so I will be watching it the way most people will be watching it outside of New York right in my family room, watching it on TV because those ticket prices were through the roof. Like before that game, I think it was like $16. They were like $16, and I think they went up to either $400 or $800, and I'm like, huh?
This is ridiculous.
Yes, gouging.
See, and
gouging.
Yeah, I hate to hear that. I mean, because they did the same thing when Kobe had left. I think his tickets, pretty normal, and then all of a sudden people were paying like $20,000 for 4 seats. Come on. You know what? No. And until Jesus comes, I'm not paying that much money. I'm just saying. That's ridiculous. There's no man out there worth that much. Okay? Now you tell me Jesus is making a comeback, I'm gonna put some money out.
I'll be there right with you. I'll be right there with you, Nicole.
Yeah, but until then, I mean, even if I heard a rumor that Michael Jordan was coming back, I still can't mortgage the house. You know what I'm saying?
No,
I'm sorry.
You can't.
That's just ridiculous. Thank God for technology. I can watch it on my phone, my tablet, my TV, but I can't do it. So, Ted, tell folks where they can find you. And, like I said, I hyped up your shows because I'm a big fan, baseball, beer, barbecue, late night parents. Tell folks all that good stuff.
Oh, thanks so much. And as always, it's a pleasure joining That's What She Said Sports to come in as a guest host. You can find me on Saturdays, 10 a.m., Blog Talk Radio /Happy Hour Network. I'm on a show called Baseball, Beer, and Barbecue with Lee Val and Todd Vandenberg, and we break it down. We talk food, we talk beer, we talk baseball, we even talk a little politics from time to time also. Wednesday nights on that channel again, Blog Talk radio.com /Happy Hour Network, Late Night Parents Podcast. We talk technology, sports, parenting, education, and we do product reviews. And on Saturdays, I do the radio version of Late Night Parents on 1240 a.m. WGBB in Long Island. And we talk with a lot of local people. We have them in the studio, and we just discuss issues from near and far. We speak with entrepreneurs that are local. So it's kind of like that local flavor. But I'm on Twitter at Real Ted Hicks. And you can also find me Baseball, Beer, and Barbecue and the LateNightParent.com. And that's really about it. Those are the places you could find me. But thanks so much for allowing me to step up into your pulpit, Nicole.
Well, we love it, and I'm so proud of you, and so excited about your show in Long Island and just all that you're doing. And again, we'll have you back for football season, so don't even worry about it. So, again, thank you so much, Ted Hicks. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, folks. So, we had talked about a little bit about the Olympics. Like I said, I have to tell you, well, first, let me just apologize for the Olympics. If you all listened to my last show, I was doing the whole thing. I wasn't sure about it because obviously Ted kind of alluded to it. It's a conversation about the Zika virus and just, there's been just so much stuff about the Olympics. I mean, Rio not being ready, the ILC, them gangsters, just, the corruption, and there was just a lot of stuff. And I think it was turning me off as far as, do I even want to watch it? I had told everybody before, I used to get so excited, but this Olympics, I just was not excited. So I was like, okay, we'll just see. But I do need to apologize to the Olympics because not only am I watching it, I'm a full-on groupie. I think I'm all in. I think I'm more in than Leslie Jones. And if you're not familiar with her, she is an awesome comedian. She's Saturday Night Live, Ghostbusters. But this woman is all in. But I think I actually got Leslie Jones beat. I'm a total Olympic geek. I can't get enough. Fencing, swimming, archery, you name it, I'm there. But I will have to tell you my favorite, volleyball. I'm totally addicted to volleyball. Actually, I played a little volleyball in college. I don't know if I could have hung out with these girls. I mean, because I'm 5'4". I'm thinking I'm doing something. These girls are like 6'3", 6'4". So I'm at the net. They're like, okay. But I just cannot get enough. And I'm a total groupie when it comes to Kerry Walsh-Jennings. She's one of my favorite, not only athletes, but Olympians. She plays beach volleyball with April Ross. They are killing it right now. But, yeah, I am all in. I mean, from the time of the opening ceremony, which was fabulous, that was just amazing. And I mean, to me, it rivaled what they did in Beijing. That's how good that was. You know, showing like the slave trade and just the dancers, and it was amazing. But yeah, but ever since it started, I'm sorry, I am all in. Do you hear me, folks? Like, I can't get enough. And I want to share two of my favorite stories so far. First, we've had Daryl Homer. He won the silver in fencing, and I actually had some friends back in the day who used to fence, so I know a little bit about fencing, but loved it. He was born in the Virgin Islands. He was raised in the Bronx, a single mother household. He became the first American to win a silver medal in the men's individual fencing in 112 years. And honestly, I'm sure he's probably the first African American. You don't see a lot of brothers doing fencing, but just fun to watch. I mean, you talk about just somebody who just has a good time. And I think I watched like all three of his matches yesterday, and they were nail biters. I mean, because it's good. So big ups to Daryl Homer. Just congratulate him. But yeah, that was pretty awesome. And then you had Fahid Al-Dihani of Kuwait. He's of Kuwait descent. He's competing for the independent Olympic athletes. And if you don't remember who these athletes were, they came in, in the opening ceremony, everybody's country is represented, and, they had their flag, whatever. Well, the 10 athletes who represent as far as the Olympics, or they're under the Olympic flags, these are all migrants who, for whatever reason, are not, representing their country, and they're representing on behalf of the Olympic flag. Pretty cool. Fahid is one of those, and he won a gold in the double trap, which is shooting. It's like when they, they don't go and they throw that thing out, and you have to shoot it. No, I'm not doing it justice by explaining it. But anyway, he's been in the sport since 1989. Yes. He's been doing this for a long time. And one time he even took, they said, like 12 years off. Like he just got burnt, but then he came back to it. The guy was amazing. He beat the Italian to get the gold. So, you watch it, and, obviously, we follow, our own athletes. So there's some incredible stories out there. And those are just two of them. And, but yeah, I'm all in. So I'd love to hear from you. Let me know. Let me know on Twitter at TWSS Sports if you're watching the Olympics, and do hashtag #AllInOlympics. What are you watching? Like, what is your favorite? So we can talk Olympic talk. So I'd love to do that with you. But yeah, I am all in. Cannot get enough. So track and field starts next week. I will be there. But it's just been fun. It's been really fun to watch. So real quick, I did want to bring up Manny Pacquiao. If you have not heard about Mr. Pacquiao, he's coming out of retirement, which I'm like, Manny, please don't. But he's going to be fighting Jesse Vargas, in the fall for the WBO welterweight title. But the Philippines government is like, dude, you're a senator. I'm going to need you to do Senate stuff. I'm going to need you to govern. What are you doing? Manny. Manny is big time. Manny said, you know what? How about I just train here in the Philippines so I get my work on and I get my train on? How about that? And if you've ever watched those where they get ready for the fights, I forgot what it's called, but it's kind of like Hard Knocks for boxing. And the title escapes me, but if somebody out there knows it, just remind me on Twitter. But anywho, if you ever watch Manny Pacquiao's team, I mean, it is ridiculous. I mean, it looks like half the Philippines are part of this team, but they're funny, great stories, and they are serious about those to Manny Pacquiao. So Manny was like, just calm down. I can still do both. But yeah, he's coming out of retirement, and that didn't last long. I mean, didn't he just retire? So he'll be fighting Jesse Vargas, and and I get it. We've talked about this before. You get these athletes, they have a hard time. I mean, look at Kobe. I mean, he literally had one leg. We were like, Kobe, you need to end it. No, I'm gonna come back. Okay. So, I get it. All right, folks. Well, it's now time for our weekly Beast and Busters. And you're listening to That's What She Said Sports. Thank you so much for listening to us on the All In Sports Talk Network. And you know what? We've had tons of busters this week, so let's get to them busters. and that doesn't even serve them justice for some of the busters that we got on our list this week. First up, NBC commentator Al Trautwig. Obviously that's a big part of the Olympics too. You have all these different commentators. Some you've seen before because they're there like every Olympics, like Bob Costas is just kind of like a fixture. Ryan Seacrest is new. I don't really get him, but, people love him. He's kind of doing his thing at the Olympics. But you have this NBC commentator, Al Trautwig. He referred to gymnast Simone Biles, which I forgot to give the gymnastics a shout-out because that has been off the chain. Like Ted said, we're a Gabby Douglas family. We love us some Gabby. But Simone Biles, love her, too. So anyway, I have to give a buster to Al Trautwig, getting back to him. He called Simone Biles' parents, which are her grandparents, but she was adopted by them when she was 6 years old. She considers them mom and dad, which is fine. I mean, it happens all the time. He made the comment, well, they aren't her real parents. Bruh, really? So needless to say, he had to apologize, which you damn right he had to apologize, because that was just rude. And if you don't know her story, very compelling story, very harrowing story. I mean, it's just, ugh. But, her mom had battled alcohol and drugs, and when Gabby was 6 and her younger sister, her grandparents, her maternal grandparents, adopted her. So she knows them as mom and dad, and she will tell you in an interview, I mean, she'll be like, look, this is my parents. So it is what it is. Respect it. And for him to come out and say, now your real parents, I mean, that was just, ugh, what a dodo. Next buster goes to the Gabby Douglas haters. Look, just stop already. Leave my girl alone. First, you bitched about her hair when she was in the Olympics in London, and then you're mad just recently that she made the team. I mean, people are upset about that because, granted, she didn't do that well to make the team, but the sister got a gold medal. Okay, so calm down. And now you're mad because she didn't put her hand over her heart during the Olympics. Pictures going around. Everybody's like she's not being patriotic. First of all, I've gone to many sporting events where they have the anthem. And I always put my hands down to my side. That's what I'm more comfortable with. That does not make me less patriotic just because I didn't put my hand on my chest. So stop the foolishness. You guys are just, ugh. The nitpicking is just ridiculous. But then on the flip side, my boy Michael Phelps, the last time he won a gold, he was laughing through it. And he admitted because he had heard some of his boys were saying some stuff. They were kind of like singing the song, but they were kind of throwing in some flavor in there, so that made him laugh. I don't remember seeing anything on Twitter about why did Michael Phelps laugh during the anthem. So, see what I mean? People out there, you haters, you always want to, you're not even good haters. You pick and choose. If you're going to hate on everybody. Don't just pick and choose who you're going to hate on. So, anywho, yeah, Gabby Douglas haters, bleh, bye. Next, we just talked about him, the Yankees manager Joe Girardi being a jerk about A-Rod retiring. I personally think it's unnecessary. I know Ted said he's between a rock and a hard place, but just get over it, Joe. Let the man have his moment. I mean, don't be so hateful. This next one is also have to do with the gymnast. All those hating trolls making comments about Mexican gymnast Alexa Moreno, calling her a pig, and just being downright mean. As much as I love social media, sometimes it definitely is the devil. And these folks, and let me just first of all paint the picture. Alexa's a thick girl, okay? She's a little bit bigger than some of the other girls that are out there. I mean, and you can see the gymnasts, their body types range. Like Simone Biles, she even though she's 4'8" and solid, she's still thicker than maybe some of the other little girls, like those little girls from Brazil and China. I mean, they look like they're 7, and these are like teenagers. So, there's all different kinds of builds. So Alexa, again, she's a thick girl. She's got some curves. She reminds me of me when I just did gymnastics. That's why my gymnastics career didn't last long, because development set in, and it's hard to do gymnastics with tika, blah. I'm just saying, you can't do it. But even with all that, Alexis is still doing her thing. And for people to go out there and call her everything from fat to, you're a pig, just stop already. I mean, she could basically twirl over your head and kick you. I mean, just leave it alone. But she's doing her thing, so big up to Alexa. Next, buster, Deion Long. He's a rookie wide receiver on the Rams who got cut for having a girl in his room. Come on, Deion. Come on. First of all, I hope she was worth it because you know the rules. Can't even feel sorry for you on this one, bruh. I mean, it's no women in training camp. So I hope she was a mom diggity. I hope she's the future Mrs. Long because that was stupid. Finally, rumor has it that director Antoine Fuqua, who is one of my favorite directors, he did Training Day amongst a lot of other great films. He wants to remake Scarface. I got 3 words for you. What the hell? No, do not remake Scarface. Come on, Hollywood. Antoine, what are you doing? This is so stupid. I mean, okay, I just cannot handle all the remakes. If you try to remake the A-Team, I mean, you try to remake all these movies, just leave these movies alone, you know? Just, what happened to originality? What are the writers doing? I mean, are they just on strike and they're not doing anything? Because I'm sorry. I am a huge Scarface fan, okay? Like, I know that movie from beginning to end. That is my movie. Do you hear me? That made me fall in love with just gangster films, period. So I'm having a really hard time with this whole idea of remaking it. Who would even play Tony's part? I mean, I just can't see it. I do not want Zac Efron or somebody like that talking about come say hello to my little friend. No, just, please don't. Just please don't. And if you do remake it, just know I will not be watching it. All right, folks. Now it's time for our Beast. Okay, well, I guess that's a little beast. So I guess that's all the beasts we're going to get. But so let me just paint the picture for all of our beasts. Everybody from Daryl Homer, for Fahid Al-Dahini, Katie Ledecky, Michael Phelps, the women's basketball team, the women's gymnastics team. Everybody out there is just in total beast mode during this Olympics. And I cannot, like I've told you, I cannot get enough of it. It's just been so much fun to watch. And, this is the best of the best. So if you're not watching it, or if you just kind of like, I don't know, you kind of dab and just get a little bit or whatever, please watch it. Please support these athletes because it's really cool. And I even found myself some of these athletes who, from these countries who just maybe need a little extra support. Like tonight I'll be supporting Fiji in rugby because we got knocked out to USA a while ago. So it's just fun to watch even other countries. So please support the Olympics. And, again, like I said, hit me up and let me know what Olympic sport you've been watching. So, hey, folks, thank you so much for listening to That's What She Said Sports. I always appreciate us. I also always appreciate you, that is, when you hang out with me. It's always fun. I want to thank my boy Ted Hicks for joining me. Love it. And like I said, Ted is awesome. His podcast, Baseball, Beer, and Barbecue, it is the bomb. It is so much fun. So please check it out. And, again, like I said, I truly appreciate your support for That's What She Said Sports. Remember, I'm your sports chick, Nicole, Monique, and hopefully next week I will not sound like this. So thank you for bearing with me. It's definitely been interesting. How many times I appreciate Ted talking for a while so I could, put myself on mute, try to cough, and come back to it because I didn't want you all to have to hear that. But you remember, folks, you can catch me every Friday morning on the All In Sports Talk Network. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, like I said, at TWSS Sports. You can check out my website at twssports.com, and we're actually working on it. Hopefully we'll have even something better in the fall. So I'm sorry if some of the stuff on there is old. I'm just get that out there now. But we're definitely working on it so we can try to improve the site. Definitely check me out on Instagram, She Said Sports. It's always fun. And like me on Facebook. I'm always looking to get with more Facebook people. And remember, folks, as always, look forward to seeing you next week. And I don't know about you all, but I am actually counting down the days until football. So over these next few weeks, we'll be having a really good football conversation with some folks. I'm excited about that. And like I said, check out my boys all during the week. And one of my good friends, Tamberlin, she's on the All In Sports Talk Network. We got a variety of great shows, folks. Everything from football, hockey, NBA, you name it. That's the network you need to be on. And there's some changes coming in the fall for me as well. I'll be telling you about that soon. But again, thank you so much for listening to That's What She Said Sports. And we'll see you till next time.